what a bizarre story this is. This is really something, guys. So this just broke now. Dr. Oz's scientific experiments killed over 300 dogs, entire litter of puppies. Columbia's internal investigation found that Oz's research team inflicted extensive suffering on canine test subjects in violation of the Animal Welfare Act. Wow. Jesus Christ. I mean, I knew, look, he always struck me as, or I shouldn't say this, because I actually thought he would be much better at campaigning than he's been, but certainly since I started paying attention to Dr. Oz, he's always been, like, uniquely terrible at being a politician. And then every now and then you just get a story that you fucking facepalm and you're like, how is this a thing? Like the whole crudité video, it was so fucking tone deaf. Now we get this about Dr. Oz. So here's what they say in Jezebel. In a scandal that will surely make Mitt Romney, who famously strapped his family dog atop the roof of his car for a road trip, look like a PETA activist, a review of 75 studies published by Mehmet Oz between 1989 and 2010 reveals the Republican Senate candidate's research killed over 300 dogs and inflicted significant suffering on them and other animals used in experiments. Oz, the New Jersey resident who's currently running for U.S. Senate from Pennsylvania, was a principal investigator at the Columbia University Institute of Comparative Medicine labs for years and assumed full scientific, administrative, and fiscal responsibility for the conduct of his studies. Over the course of 75 studies published in academic journals reviewed by Jezebel, Oz's team conducted experiments on at least 1,027 live animal subjects that included dogs, pigs, calves, rabbits, and small rodents. 34 of these experiments resulted in the deaths of at least 329 dogs, while 2 of his experiments killed 31 pigs and 38 experiments killed 661 rabbits and rodents. In the early 2000s, testimony from a whistleblower and veterinarian named Catherine Dell'Orto about Oz's research detailed extensive suffering inflicted on his team's canine test subjects, including multiple violations of the Animal Welfare Act, which sets minimum standards of care for dogs, cats, primates, rabbits, and other animals in the possession of animal dealers and laboratories. The law specifically requires researchers and breeders to use pain-relieving drugs or euthanasia on the animals and not use paralytics without anesthesia or experiment multiple times on the same animal. Dell'Orto testified that a dog experimented on by Oz's team experienced lethargy, vomiting, paralysis, and kidney failure, but wasn't euthanized for a full 2 days. She alleged other truly horrific examples of gratuitously cruel treatment of dogs, including at least one dog who was kept alive for a month for continued experimentation despite her unstable, painful condition, despite how data from her continued experimentation was deemed unusable. According to Dell'Orto, one Oz-led study resulted in a litter of puppies being killed by intracardiac injection with syringes of expired drugs inserted in their hearts without any sedation. Jesus Christ. Upon being killed, the puppies were allegedly left in a garbage bag with living puppies who were their litter mates. Dell'Orto's allegations made in 2003 and 2004 are detailed in letters from PETA to the university and USDA. In an interview with Billy Penn last month, she acknowledged PETA is not a reliable source of information, but said the organization's letters honestly reflected what she told the organization and provided documentation for. In May 2004, Columbia University was ordered by the USDA to pay a $2,000 penalty for violations of the Animal Welfare Act. So they were already fined for this. The fine paid by Columbia was the result of a settlement between the university and the USDA based on the findings of Columbia's internal investigation of Oz's research. See, this is something, man. So, even with the internal investigation, they were like, yeah, you were doing some wildly unethical stuff, and they agreed to pay a fine to the USDA. The USDA accepted these findings, but according to Dell'Orto, the review was faulty and had investigators on the committee that were also complicit in this type of poorly designed, cruel animal experimentation. Dell'Orto also noted that while Oz wasn't the one who euthanized the dogs and puppies himself, quote, when your name is on the experiment and the way the experiment is designed inflicts such cruelty to these animals, by design, there's a problem. Months after paying the $2,000 fine in December 2004, Columbia defended Oz amid the animal abuse allegations, calling him a highly respected researcher and clinician who adhered to the highest standards of animal care, but neglected to deny any of the specific allegations Dell'Orto had made against Oz. On Monday, Jezebel reached out to Colombia's Office of Communications and Public Affairs, as well as Oz's Senate campaign. Colombia declined to comment, and Oz's campaign has yet to respond. Notably, in April this year, the Daily Beast reported that the university had seemingly cut all ties with Oz, stripping his personal pages from the medical center's website. Oz formerly held senior positions, including vice chair of surgery and director of integrated medicine at the medical center. Oz is currently running against John Fetterman, owing to a number of bizarre gaffes on the campaign trail, including a comically out-of-touch campaign video, this is the crudité thing, and the resurfacing of his history of creepy comments toward women. Oz has been trailing Fetterman for much of the race, but after a slew of obsessive anti-Fetterman Fox News segments and key police endorsements of Oz, the latest polls show the race tightening. In an interview with Jezebel last month, Fetterman's wife, Giselle Barreto Fetterman, referenced long-running animal abuse allegations against Oz in a warning to voters. Quote, "I think if you look at a profile of someone who makes misogynistic comments, who abuses animals, and who does all these things, you're getting a picture of someone who's a pretty dangerous person," Giselle said. "That's certainly not someone I would want making decisions on my rights or any other women's and folks' rights in the state, deciding whether doctors go to jail for performing life-saving services." Dog abuse allegations against Oz are a drop in the candidate's proverbial bucket of scandals at this point, but given the all-American tradition of loving dogs more than humans, it might be hard to brush this one under the rug. Yeah, look, I mean, that's so true. Like, it does appear that Americans really do like dogs more than they like people. Like, it really does feel that way, doesn't it? And look, I'm a very big dog lover. So Crystal has a dog named Phoebe, a Bernese Mountain Dog, and she's the sweetest fucking dog in the world. Holy shit. She's also really funny. Like, she would literally choose getting pets over food and water. Like, there's nothing she wants more than a belly rub. And I provide her with, like, 20-minute long belly rubs every time I see her. And she's also really fucking horny, and it's hilarious. Like, I'll like, give her a belly rub and pet her or whatever, and as soon as I'm done doing it, she immediately, like, jumps on my leg and starts humping my leg. It's really, really funny. But she's such a fucking little sweetie pie. And, you know, I think of Phoebe, and then you read this article and you're like, God damn it, man. I can't imagine torturing that, like, beautiful, beautiful dog. This thing that's overflowing with love. It's just, God, it's just gross, man. It's just gross. And, I mean, just add this to the list of the Oz scandals, right? Like, this one is particularly egregious, if you ask me. And look, there's a bigger conversation to be had, right? About, like, what kind of animal experimentation is okay and what's not okay. Like, I'm sure the PETA people would say, like, there's literally no animal experimentation that you can or should do, even if it's for the most noble scientific cause and, like, finding medical cures and things like that. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that, right? Like, I think there's some medical experimentation you can do and use animals for it, but certainly not things that would lead to, like, disgusting torture and painful death of these animals. I think that crosses an ethical line. I mean, look, I'm in favor of, even when it comes to the animals that Americans widely eat, like chickens and pigs and cows, right? Like, there should be mandated ethical treatment until you get to the point where it becomes dinner, right? Like, they should have a certain amount of room that's mandated for them to, like, they can't be cooped up in these tight-ass spaces, and they can't be pumped full of fucking corn, and they can't be, you know, overused antibiotics on them, which leads to antibiotic-resistant illnesses. Like, you need to treat animals better than we do. Factory farming is a crime, right? It's an absolute crime. And then thinking about the animals that are, you know, most domesticated, that Americans care the most about, torturing dogs? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Jesus. This is like the, it's just reminding me of the scandal. Remember when he lied about the number of houses he has? He was asked how many houses he has. He goes, legitimately, what do you mean legitimately? What does that mean? Legitimately, 2. Wrong. Turns out he owns 10 properties. And then he got, like, even though he was caught brazen in a lie, he, like, weirdly doubled down and tripled down and started to try to go on the offense at Fetterman over this. Look, this is one of the races I care the most about, man. I have to keep it real with you guys. I mean, the two that matter the most to me, Warnock versus Herschel Walker. God, Warnock has to win that race, for the love of God. And that race is dead tied. It is like 50-50, flip a fucking coin as to what's going to happen. And now, look, I hate to say it, But this race, Fetterman versus Oz, this is now like a dead tie. I mean, Fetterman was up in the polls massively, but this race has tightened significantly. And make no mistake about it, they're going to go all in. They are going all in right now, where they're hitting Fetterman over the head. They got all these ads, like they said, police union endorsements or whatever, or police endorsements in Pennsylvania. Fox News is going to go on the offense to try to take down Fetterman at the end here. And Fetterman may have peaked a little too early. So I am getting nervous, man. I'm getting nervous about that race. And this is, again, one of the races I care the most about in the country. For the love of God, dude, Dr. Oz, this guy has to go down. And I haven't even touched the conversation about his career of hawking snake oil, selling fake miracle cures to people, misleading people. And again, all for profit. He was getting massive amounts of money to promote, unproven cures. This is a guy who abused his trust with the people on his TV show. I mean, look, not to suck myself off here, but make the comparison, right? I easily could accept, advertiser money and push certain products and all this, but I don't do any of it. And I don't do it as a matter of principle. I never had a conversation with an advertiser because I don't want to break my trust with you guys, with the audience. I refuse to hawk something to you that I don't believe in, or something that I'm getting paid for, but I don't divulge the fact I'm getting paid for it. That's so fucking gross. Now, here's a guy who not only was doing brand deals, he was doing brand deals for shit he unquestionably didn't believe in, didn't think they worked, but he hawked it anyway to get paid. This is the kind of guy that he is. He's a power-hungry freak, and he's the kind of person who has zero moral core, and he's the kind of person who would do scientific experiments that fucking torture and kill 329 dogs. So shit, man. Just keep this in mind. This is some wild stuff.